Hello and welcome to the Bible study on the book of Romans. Today we look at the last chapter of Romans. Yesterday we looked at how Paul began ending his letter, and today we finish with the rest of his end greeting and his commending and well wishes to believers that he and those in the church in Rome have in common. One thing I expect is for it to be a very well-rounded group of people that would demonstrate to those believers that Paul lives out what he preaches, which was always about being one in Christ. I find that many will skip over parts such as this in the Bible, but I will remind you that if God ordained it to be here, then it does hold great benefit to those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. So please don't tune out. So let's begin. Romans 16 verses 1 through 2. I commend to you our sister Phoebe, who is a servant of the church, who is at Cenchrea, that you receive her in the Lord in a manner worthy of the saints, and that you help her in whatever matter she may have need of. For she herself has been a helper of many, and of myself as well. Well, first, it's unusual that Paul would greet a woman first and call her a servant of the church, which is used by anyone who performs any service. It can be an administrator, and in this case specifically a deaconess. The word helper is a bit deceiving because the Greek word is defined as a female guardian, protector, or patroness. There is no indication of whether she's a Jewish or Gentile believer. It simply says she's a Christian woman. Next, we look at verses 3 through 5. Greet Prisca and Aquila, my fellow workers in Christ Jesus, who for my life risked their own necks, to whom not only do I give thanks, but also all the churches of the Gentiles. Also, greet the church that is in their house. Greet Epaenetus, my beloved, who is the first convert to Christ from Asia. So this is also Priscilla that we see referenced in the Bible. Prisca is a more formal name. A fascinating fact is that the first time we see her introduced is in Acts 18 verse 2. Now listen to how it is written. And he, meaning Paul, found a Jew named Aquila, a native of Pontus, having recently come from Italy with his wife Priscilla. But then, in the same chapter in verse 18, in terms of time, it was quite a lot from when Paul had initially met them. But now he lists her first. So after he left them, it's also documented that she, then her husband, were the ones who taught Apollos. And then you see it again in 2 Timothy. It would be very against tradition to list a woman first. But then, of course, they're both Jewish believers. But I also think it's very fascinating that Epaenetus is literally the first convert in Asia. Verse 6, greet Mary, who has worked hard for you. Verse 7, greet Andronicus and Junius, my kinsmen and my fellow prisoners, who are outstanding among the apostles, who also were in Christ before me. So both Andronicus and Junius are definitely Jewish believers and obviously had been in prison for their faith at one time. And the concordance does mention the possibility of Junius being a female because Junia for sure is a woman's name. I don't know. But the term kinsman, to my understanding, applies to a male relative. Verse 8, Ampliatus, my beloved in the Lord. Paul's use of the term beloved implies they were very close. It does not designate whether he was Jewish or Gentile, so I lean toward Gentile, but also because there is a potential that he was from the imperial household. Verse 9, greet Urbanus, our fellow worker in Christ, and Stachys, my beloved. Urbanus is not designated as male or female, but Stachys is definitely a male, and both are noted as Christians, so that implies Gentile believers. Verse 10, greet Apelles, the approved in Christ. Greet those who are of the household of Aristobulus. So both of these gentlemen are listed as Christian, so Gentiles. Verse 11, greet Herodian, my kinsman. Greet those of the household of Narcissus, who are in the Lord. Herodian is not designated as male or female, but again, since it says kinsman, probably male, and Narcissus is said to be historically a freedman from the emperor of Claudius. Okay, we're going to stop here. Again, I know that this probably sounds irrelevant, but I don't think it is, because we see this mixture of Jew and Gentile, male and female. And so I think it's important to see who Paul lists as important to him. People he's met, people he's encountered, people who have impacted his life, but also the lives he's impacted. So join us as we finish out Romans chapter 16. Thanks again for being here, and we will see you on the next one.